The airport hummed with the chaos of 1,000 lives colliding. But for Eli, the world had narrowed to a single, searing truth. He was banned from his grandmother's funeral. His chest tightened as he gripped Sam's hand. Their fingers locked in a quiet rebellion against the cruelty of his family's rejection. They stood at the gate, two young men against a tide of judgment, determined to rewrite the ending of this story. Eli was 25, with dark, unruly hair and eyes that carried the weight of too many battles. Sam, his partner of 3 years, was a year older, blonde and steady, the kind of person who could anchor you through a storm. They'd met in a small-town bookstore in Vermont, where Eli's sharp wit and Sam's quiet humor sparked something neither could ignore. Now, in the heart of Boston's Logan Airport, they were headed to Georgia not for the funeral Eli's family had barred him from, but for something better, something that would prove love could outshine hate. The call had come 2 days ago. Eli's mother, her voice cold as winter, had said, "You're not welcome, Elijah. Not you. Not him." The words cut deeper than Eli expected, each syllable a reminder of the family that had once celebrated his every milestone, but now saw his love for Sam as a sin. His grandmother, Ruth, had been different. She baked him cookies, taught him to garden, and whispered stories of her youth in Savannah. She'd known about Sam and never flinched, her love unwavering. But she was gone now, and her funeral, meant to honor her, had become a stage for his family's prejudice. Sam squeezed Eli's hand, pulling him back to the present. "We're doing this for her," Sam said, his voice low but firm. "Not them." Eli nodded, though the ache in his chest didn't ease. They were flying to Savannah to hold their own memorial for Ruth, a private ceremony at her favorite park, where she'd taken Eli as a child to feed the ducks. It was a plan born of defiance and love, a way to say goodbye on their terms. At the check-in counter, the airline agent, a woman with kind eyes and a name tag reading Clara, glanced at their tickets. "Oh, you're in luck," she said, her smile warm. "We've got a last-minute cancellation in first class. I'm upgrading you both. No charge." Eli blinked, caught off guard. First class. They'd scraped together every penny for these economy tickets. And now this. Sam grinned, nudging him. "See, the universe is on our side." As they boarded the plane, the first-class cabin felt like a different world. Plush seats, champagne flutes, and passengers who eyed them with curiosity. Eli felt a flicker of unease, but Sam's hand on his knee grounded him. They settled in, the weight of the journey momentarily lifted by the unexpected luxury. Little did they know, this upgrade would set off a chain of events that would make Eli's family regret their cruelty in ways they never imagined. The flight was smooth, the hum of the engines a steady backdrop to their quiet conversation. Eli leaned against Sam, recounting memories of Ruth, her laughter, her stubborn streak, the way she'd sneak him extra pie at family gatherings. "She'd have hated this," Eli said, his voice thick. "The way they're using her funeral to shut me out." Sam nodded, his eyes soft. "She'd have fought for you, Eli. Just like you're fighting for her now." In Savannah, the air was thick with summer heat, the kind that clung to your skin like a second layer. They rented a car and drove to Forsyth Park, Ruth's sanctuary, where ancient oaks draped with Spanish moss whispered stories of the past. Eli carried a small wooden box, a gift from Ruth years ago, now filled with mementos, a pressed flower from her garden, a photo of her smiling with Eli as a boy, a handwritten note she'd left him that simply said, "Be brave, my boy." They found her favorite bench by the fountain, its water sparkling under the midday sun. Eli knelt, setting the box on the ground. "This is for you, Grandma," he whispered, his voice breaking. Sam stood beside him, a silent pillar of strength. They spoke of her life, her kindness, her unwavering love. Eli scattered the flower petals into the fountain, a quiet offering. It wasn't the funeral his family had planned, but it was honest, raw, and theirs. As they sat, a woman approached mid-middle-aged, with a warm smile and a camera slung around her neck. "You boys look like you're honoring someone special," she said, her southern drawl soft. Eli hesitated, then shared Ruth's story, the words spilling out. The woman, who introduced herself as Lila, listened intently. "I'm a photographer," she said. "Mind if I capture this moment? It feels important." Eli glanced at Sam, who nodded. Lila's camera clicked, freezing their love, their grief, their defiance in time. What they didn't know was that Lila was no ordinary photographer. She worked for a local paper, and their story, two young men honoring a loved one despite being shunned, struck a chord. By the next morning, a photo of Eli and Sam at the fountain, hands clasped, eyes full of resolve, was on the front page of the Savannah Morning News. The headline read, "Love Over Hate, a Grandson's Tribute." The article detailed their journey, their exclusion, and their quiet act of rebellion. It was a spark, one that would soon ignite a firestorm. Back at the hotel, Eli's phone buzzed with notifications. Friends, strangers, even distant cousins were sharing the article online. Messages poured in support, outrage, love. But one text stopped Eli cold, his sister, Hannah, who hadn't spoken to him in a year. "I saw the article. I'm sorry, Eli. I was wrong." His throat tightened. Could this be the start of something changing? The article spread like wildfire, reaching his family in Atlanta. His mother, his aunts, his uncles, they saw it, and the comments section was a battleground. Some praised Eli and Sam's courage. Others, including his Uncle Dan, doubled down, calling it a stunt. But the tide was turning. The community, the city, even strangers across the country were rallying behind them. Eli's family had wanted to erase him, but now the world was watching. As Eli and Sam prepared to leave Savannah, they felt a shift. The pain of rejection still lingered, but so did the strength of their love for each other, for Ruth, for what was right. The airline upgrade had been a fluke, a small act of kindness that led to a moment captured, a story told, a truth exposed. Eli's family had tried to silence him, but they'd only amplified his voice. The hotel room in Savannah was small but cozy, with a window overlooking the cobblestone streets below. Eli sat on the edge of the bed, staring at his phone, the glow illuminating his face in the dim light. The article about their memorial had gone viral, shared across platforms, sparking debates and drawing attention to their story. Sam, sprawled on the bed with a book he wasn't really reading, glanced over. "You okay?" he asked, his voice gentle but laced with concern. Eli didn't answer right away. The text from Hannah still burned in his mind. His sister, the one who'd once braided his hair as a joke when they were kids, had sided with their parents when Eli came out. Her apology, brief as it was, felt like a crack in the wall his family had built around him. "I don't know what to do with this," he admitted, holding up his phone. "She's sorry. But what does that even mean?" Sam sat up, scooting closer. "It means she's thinking. Maybe she's starting to see you again, not the version they all decided you are." He rested a hand on Eli's shoulder, his touch steadying. "You don't have to decide anything right now. Let it sit." Eli nodded, but his mind was racing. The article had done more than share their story, it had exposed his family's actions to the world. Comments online ranged from heartfelt support to vicious attacks, some calling Eli's exclusion a betrayal of family values, others accusing him of seeking attention. One comment, from an anonymous user, stuck with him, "Your grandma would be proud of you. Eli. Keep fighting." It was a stranger's words, yet they carried the weight of Ruth's love. The next morning, they grabbed coffee at a small cafe near the hotel. The barista, a young woman with a rainbow pin on her apron, recognized them from the article. "You're those guys from the paper," she said, her eyes bright. "That was beautiful, what you did for your grandma." She slid their coffees across the counter, adding 2 free pastries. On the house, she winked. Eli felt a warmth he hadn't expected, a reminder that not everyone saw their love as a flaw. But not all reactions were kind. As they walked through Savannah's historic district, a man in a trucker hat glared at them, muttering something under his breath. Sam tightened his grip on Eli's hand. A silent promise, "We're in this together." Eli forced a smile, but the encounter left a bitter taste. The world was watching, but not everyone was cheering. Back at the hotel, Eli's phone rang. It was his cousin, Mia, one of the few family members who'd stayed neutral during the fallout. Her voice was shaky. "Eli, it's a mess here," she said. "Aunt Linda saw the article, and she's furious. Says you're shaming the family. But some of us are talking. Me, Hannah, even Uncle Rob. We didn't know they'd banned you from the funeral. It's not right." Eli's heart pounded. "What are they saying?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia hesitated. "Hannah's been crying. She feels guilty. Uncle Rob's trying to stay out of it, but he's not defending Mom and Dad anymore. The article, it's making people question things. I just wanted you to know." When the call ended, Eli felt a mix of hope and dread. His family was fracturing, and while part of him wanted their regret, another part ached for reconciliation. Sam, sensing his turmoil, pulled him into a hug. "You're allowed to feel all of it," he said. "The anger, the hope, the hurt. But you're not alone in this." They decided to extend their stay in Savannah, needing time to process the whirlwind. They visited Forsyth Park again, this time under the golden light of late afternoon. The fountain sparkled, and Eli felt Ruth's presence in the rustle of the oaks. He pulled out his phone and started typing a response to Hannah. "I'm glad you reached out. I miss you. Can we talk?" He hesitated, then hit send. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. That evening, Lila, the photographer, reached out. She'd been contacted by a national news outlet wanting to feature Eli and Sam's story. "This could get big," she warned. "Are you ready for that?" Eli looked at Sam, who nodded. "We're ready," Eli said, though his stomach churned. The world was about to know their truth, and there was no turning back. As night fell, they sat on the hotel balcony, the city's lights twinkling below. Eli leaned against Sam, feeling the weight of the past few days. "I thought this trip was just about saying goodbye to Grandma," he said. "But it's turning into something else." Sam kissed his forehead. "It's about showing the world who we are." And who she was. They sat in silence, the future uncertain but their love unshakable. The national news feature hit like a tidal wave. By morning, Eli and Sam's story was trending on social media, their faces plastered across headlines. Gay couple's tribute to grandmother goes viral. The photo from Forsyth Park, Eli's tear-streaked face. Sam's protective arm around him became a symbol of resilience. But with visibility came vulnerability. Eli's inbox was flooded with messages. Some called them heroes. Others hurled slurs. He tried to focus on the support, but the hate stung. They met Lila for breakfast at a diner. Her camera, now a familiar sight. "You've started something," she said, stirring her coffee. "People are talking about family, love, what it means to exclude someone. It's bigger than you now." Eli shifted uncomfortably. He'd wanted to honor Ruth, not become a headline. Sam, ever the optimist, saw it differently. "Maybe this is what she'd have wanted," he said. "Her love for you reaching others." Back at the hotel, Eli's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a voicemail from his father. His voice was gruff, strained. "Elijah, we need to talk. This article is causing problems. Call me." Eli froze. His father hadn't spoken to him in months. Not since the argument where he'd called Sam a mistake. Sam urged him to call back, but Eli wasn't ready. "He doesn't get to dictate this," he said, his voice sharp. Instead, they focused on the news feature. The outlet had arranged an interview, set to air live that evening. Eli was nervous. Public speaking wasn't his strength, but Sam's calm presence steadied him. They prepared in their hotel room, practicing answers, trying to anticipate questions. "Just tell the truth," Sam said. "That's enough." The studio was bright. The host, a woman named Rachel with a warm smile but probing eyes. She asked about Ruth, the funeral, the exclusion. Eli's voice shook as he described his grandmother's love, how she'd accepted him when others wouldn't. Sam chimed in, his tone steady, recounting their memorial at Forsyth Park. The interview ended with Rachel asking, "What do you hope comes from this?" Eli paused, then said, "I want people to see that love doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real." The broadcast aired, and the response was immediate. Support poured in from across the country, letters, emails, even donations to a fund someone had started in Ruth's name for LGBTQ youth. But Eli's family wasn't silent. His mother posted a public statement on social media, claiming the article misrepresented them, that Eli was disrespecting Ruth's memory. It was a lie, and it hurt, but Eli saw through it. Was scrambling to save face. Hannah called that night, her voice thick with emotion. "I watched the interview," she said. "I'm so proud of you, Eli. And I'm so sorry I stayed quiet for so long." They talked for an hour, rebuilding a bridge that had been burned. She revealed that their parents were fighting, their mother doubling down while their father seemed shaken. "He's not himself," she said. "I think he's starting to see what he's done." Eli and Sam decided to stay in Savannah another day, drawn to the city's warmth and the unexpected community they'd found. They visited a local LGBTQ center, where volunteers thanked them for their courage. A teenager, no older than 16, approached Eli, eyes wide. "I saw you on TV," he said. "My family's like yours. You give me hope." Eli's throat tightened, and he hugged the boy, feeling Ruth's spirit in the moment. As they walked back to the hotel, Sam stopped, pulling Eli close. "You're changing lives. You know that," he said. Eli shook his head, overwhelmed. "We're doing this together," he replied. The night was warm, the stars bright, and for the first time in days, Eli felt a flicker of peace. Eli woke to a text from his father, "Meet me in Atlanta tomorrow. We need to talk in person." The words were curt, but they carried a weight Eli couldn't ignore. He showed the message to Sam, who frowned. "You don't have to go," Sam said. "Not if it's going to hurt you." But Eli felt a pull and need to face his father, to see if there was any chance for understanding. They rented a car and drove to Atlanta. The 4-hour journey filled with tense silence and bursts of conversation. Eli's mind churned with memories, his father teaching him to ride a bike, their fishing trips, the way his face had hardened when Eli came out. Sam kept one hand on the wheel, the other on Eli's knee, a quiet reminder of his support. Atlanta was a stark contrast to Savannah's charm, busy, sprawling, impersonal. They met Eli's father, Tom, at a quiet diner near his office. Tom was in his late 50s, his hair grayer than Eli remembered, his eyes avoiding contact. "This has gone too far," Tom said, his voice low. "The article, the interview's embarrassing the family." Eli's anger flared. "Embarrassing? You banned me from Grandma's funeral because of who I love. That's what's embarrassing." Tom flinched, but didn't argue. For the first time, Eli saw something new in his father's uncertainty. "I didn't know it would blow up like this," Tom admitted. "Your mother, she's set in her ways. I went along with it." Sam spoke up, his tone calm but firm. "Mr. Carter, Eli's your son. Ruth loved him. No conditions. Why can't you?" Tom's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. The silence stretched, heavy with years of unspoken pain. Eli broke it. "I'm not asking for your approval anymore. I just want you to see me." He slid a photo across the table, the one of him and Ruth in her garden, laughing. She did. "Why can't you?" Tom stared at the photo, his hands trembling. He didn't speak, but he didn't leave either. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was a start. Back in the car, Eli felt drained but lighter. He didn't apologize, he said, staring out the window. Sam nodded. But he listened. "That's more than you had before." They drove back to Savannah, the city now a haven in their storm. That evening, they got a call from Lila. The story had caught the attention of a national LGBTQ advocacy group who wanted to honor Eli and Sam at a gala in New York. "You're making a difference," Lila said. "People are listening." Eli felt overwhelmed but agreed. The gala was a chance to amplify their message, to honor Ruth's legacy. As they packed for New York, Eli found the wooden box from their memorial. He opened it, running his fingers over Ruth's note, "Be brave, my boy." He smiled, tears in his eyes. "I'm trying, Grandma," he whispered. New York was a whirlwind of lights and noise, a far cry from Savannah's quiet charm. The gala was held in a sleek Manhattan hotel, its ballroom filled with activists, allies, and media. Eli and Sam, dressed in tailored suits, felt out of place among the polished crowd, but the warmth of the organizers put them at ease. They were introduced as heroes of love, a title that made Eli blush but Sam beam with pride. The keynote speaker, a transgender woman named Aisha, shared her own story of family rejection and resilience. Her words hit Eli hard, echoing his own pain. When it was their turn to speak, Eli took the mic, his voice steady despite his nerves. "This isn't about us," he said. "It's about my grandmother, Ruth, who loved me when others wouldn't. It's about every person who's been told their love is wrong." The room erupted in applause, and Sam squeezed his hand, whispering, "You nailed it." The gala raised thousands for LGBTQ youth, and Eli and Sam were approached by countless people, each with a story of their own. A young woman shared how their story gave her courage to come out to her parents. An older man thanked them for reminding him of his partner, lost to AIDS decades ago. Eli felt Ruth's presence in every conversation, her love rippling outward. But the spotlight came with a cost. Online, the hate-intensified trolls called them attention seekers. Worse, Eli tried to ignore it. But one message, sent anonymously, cut deep. You're tearing your family apart. He showed it to Sam, who shook his head. They tore themselves apart when they pushed you away. He said, this is on them. Back in their hotel room, Eli got another call from Hannah. She was in New York, visiting a friend, and wanted to meet. They chose a quiet cafe in Brooklyn, where Hannah waited, her eyes red from crying. I've been awful, she said, her voice breaking. I let Mom and Dad's beliefs become mine. I'm so sorry, Eli. For the first time in years, they hugged, and Eli felt a piece of his heart mend. Hannah shared that their parents were struggling. The public backlash had hit them hard. Neighbors, co-workers, even their church were questioning their actions. Dad's been quiet, she said. Mom's angry, but I think she's scared. They didn't expect this. Eli listened, torn between hope and caution. He wanted his family back, but not at the cost of his truth. As they left the cafe, Hannah promised to keep talking, to be there. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Eli and Sam returned to their hotel, exhausted but hopeful. The gala had shown them the power of their story, and Hannah's outreach gave Eli a glimmer of family reconciliation. Back in Savannah, Eli and Sam took a day to breathe. They walked along the riverfront, the water reflecting the golden sunset. Eli felt the weight of the past week's grief, anger, hope settling into something new. I didn't expect any of this, he said, leaning against Sam. The article, the gala, Hannah, it's overwhelming. Sam nodded, his arm around Eli. You're stronger than you think. Ruth knew that. They stopped at a bench, watching boats drift by. Eli pulled out Ruth's note again, tracing the words. Be brave, my boy. He was trying, but the path ahead felt uncertain. A new email arrived from the advocacy group, inviting them to speak at more events. The idea thrilled and terrified Eli. He wasn't an activist, just a guy who loved his grandmother and his partner. But Sam saw it differently. You're giving people hope, he said. That's worth it. Meanwhile, the online storm continued. A conservative outlet published a hit piece, calling their story a publicity stunt. Eli's mother shared it on social media, adding fuel to the fire. But the support outweighed the hate. Communities across the country were holding vigils in Ruth's name, inspired by their memorial. Eli felt torn between pride and exhaustion. Then came a surprise, a letter from his uncle Rob, mailed to their hotel. Eli, I was wrong. It read, I didn't speak up when I should have. Your grandmother would be ashamed of us. I'd like to see you, if you're willing. Eli read it aloud to Sam, his hands shaking. Two family members reaching out, Hannah and now Rob. It wasn't everything, but it was something. They decided to meet Rob before leaving Savannah. He chose a park, neutral ground. Rob was older, quieter than Eli remembered, his face lined with regret. I should have stood up for you, he said. Ruth would have wanted that. They talked for hours, not just about the funeral, but about Eli's life, his love for Sam, his dreams. Rob listened, really listened, and when they parted, he hugged Ellie, a rare gesture in their family. As they prepared to fly home to Vermont, Eli felt a shift. The pain of his family's rejection hadn't vanished, but it was no longer the loudest voice. Ruth's love, Sam's strength, and the support of strangers had built something. Nawa community that saw them, valued them. The airline upgrade, that small act of kindness, had sparked a chain reaction. exposing truth and igniting change. The flight back to Vermont was quiet. The first-class seats a bittersweet reminder of how this journey began. Eli stared out the window, clouds stretching endlessly below. He felt different, not healed, but stronger. Sam dozed beside him, his head resting on Eli's shoulder. The world below was vast, but their love felt bigger. At home, their small apartment welcomed them with familiar comfort bookshelves crammed with novels. Ruth's old quilt draped over the couch. Eli checked his phone, expecting the usual flood of notifications. Instead, he found a voicemail from his mother. Her voice was softer than he'd ever heard. Elijah, I saw the gala. I don't understand everything, but I want to talk. Please. Eli played it for Sam, his heart racing. What do I do? He asked. Sam thought for a moment. You decide what you're ready for. But you don't owe her anything. Eli nodded, choosing to wait. He'd spent years chasing his family's approval. Now, he needed to protect his peace. The next week brought more surprises. The advocacy group offered Eli and Sam a platform to share their story nationwide, starting with a TEDx talk. Eli hesitated, wasn't a speaker, but Sam encouraged him. You're telling Ruth's story too, he said. They began preparing, drafting a speech that wove together love, loss, and resilience. Meanwhile, Hannah visited Vermont, their first real reunion in years. She brought photos of Ruth, stories Eli hadn't heard. They laughed, cried, and rebuilt a bond that felt fragile but real. Hannah admitted she'd confronted their parents, pushing them to reconsider their stance. Mom's struggling, she said. Dad's starting to listen. Give them time. The TEDx talk was a month away, and Eli poured his heart into it. He wrote about Ruth's garden, her laughter, her unwavering love. He wrote about Sam, the man who'd stood by him through every storm. And he wrote about himself, a gay man who'd been told he wasn't enough, but who was learning to believe he was. The night before the talk, Eli had a dream. Ruth was there, sitting on her porch, smiling. You're doing good, my boy, she said. He woke with tears in his eyes but a fire in his chest. He was ready. The TEDx stage was daunting, a spotlight illuminating Eli as he stood before a packed auditorium. Sam sat in the front row, his smile a beacon. Eli took a deep breath and began. My grandmother, Ruth, taught me that love is the bravest thing we do, he said. His voice, once shaky, grew steady as he shared their story, the rejection, the memorial, the unexpected wave of support. He spoke of Sam, their love a defiance of hate. He spoke of Ruth, whose legacy lived in every act of courage. The audience was silent, then erupted in applause. Eli felt a weight lift, as if Ruth were there, clapping too. After the talk, people approached activists, parents, kids, all moved by his words. A young man, barely 18, said, I'm scared to come out, but you make me think I can. Eli hugged him, echoing the moment in Savannah. Back home, Eli's mother called again. This time, he answered. Her voice was hesitant, but she asked to meet. They chose a neutral Spoda Park in Boston. She arrived alone, her face lined with worry. I've been wrong, she said, tears falling. I thought I was protecting our family, but I was breaking it. It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. Eli listened, cautious but open. They agreed to keep talking, a fragile bridge toward healing. Months later, Eli and Sam stood in Ruth's garden, now tended by a neighbor. They planted a rose bush in her honor, its buds a promise of new beginnings. The world had changed, not completely, but enough. Eli's family was still divided, but Hannah and Rob were allies, and his parents were trying. The airline upgrade, a fluke, had led to a photo, a story, a movement. It had shown the world that love, in all its forms, could triumph. Eli looked at Sam, his partner, his home. "We did it," he said, smiling. Sam kissed him, the garden blooming around them. "We're just getting started," he replied. And in that moment, Eli knew Ruth was watching, proud of her brave boy.